This is Philosophy versus Improv, where two sages try to teach each other a thing or two, and maybe you, the audience, get something out of it as well.
My name is Bill Arnett. At Improv, I'm going to say expert. There we go. I'm going to own it, Mark. I'm going to own it. It's been a long time since I'm just going to use the word, but simply a philosophy novice.
Well, I am Mark Linsenmeyer. I can't say I'm a philosophy expert because the depth and the breadth of philosophy is so dramatic, so intense that I think even someone who studied it for a lifetime would not call themselves an expert, much less someone who merely puts many hours podcasting and studying related to it. So I'm going to say I'm a level 10. Let's say that.
How aggressively humble of you.
And I've been doing this podcast for 3 some years now, so I'm okay. I'm okay with the improv.
Yeah.
Let's introduce our guest, someone with a book who is not a philosopher.
Nor an improviser.
Your name being?
Yes. Identify yourself. Tell us about
that's
the name
me.
of your book.
That's my cue.
Yeah.
I'm Randy Fertel, and I've written a book, Winging It, Improv's Power and Peril in the Time of Trump. I also wrote a book, A Taste for Chaos, The Art of Literary Improvisation.
And yet you say you're not an improver? What does that mean?
So I like to start by saying that I bring an analytic approach, a literary background, and an analytic approach to improvisation, which I stumbled on 1975. Before improv was well known, it wasn't really on my radar. I guess I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm sure there were improv clubs in Boston, but I wasn't aware of them. And I have taken one class, one series of classes at what is it called? The UCB.
Yep.
Sure.
New York Institution. Yep.
And so I like to admit from the start that my explaining improvisation to improvisers, to practitioners, it may be the worst example of mansplaining in history. But I do feel I bring some insight, and we'll just have to see. Now, I notice that y'all characterize yourselves as one half flippancy and one half insight, and I want to choose the flippancy role here today. That we might go back and forth. Well,
I think you might agree that, certainly considering your book, that taking a path through flippancy, one might come up with some truths. One might actually arrive at something real or meaningful by feeling free to engage in some flippancy.
Well, I do want to push back on the idea that Mark is not an expert in philosophy because philosophy is so broad and deep a subject.
I might have been being flippant about that, but please continue.
In my take on improv, it also is very broad and deep. I take it back to antiquity. I think it's always been with us. I think it's part of our bioevolution. And I'm happy not to be an expert in that broad and deep vein, but I do my best.
Very good, very good.
And as if even as an activity, it has gone back that far. Maybe it just has less, keeping track of itself. It is an ephemeral art form by nature, so most of the performances are not on nice Christopher Guest movies. Sacrosanct, that particular take, unless you watch the bonus features and you get the 2 alternate takes. We don't even get these things. It's not even presented as improv in that kind of finished product. Many people might not realize that some of those most famous examples of improv are improvised, whereas philosophy, everybody's really upfront about it and they obsess about the methods, even though likewise people were wondering about stuff. People were doing philosophy. What you could say that actually the doing philosophy, like the doing of improv, that's the central thing. The recorded history, that can, you don't want to remake the wheel so much, but it's about a human being doing it. So actually remaking the wheel, it's fine if that's what philosophy or improv is providing for you, is going through this process of whether it be self-examination or freeing yourself from established patterns or whatever. Yeah, it seems like maybe they are on a more equal footing than one might think.
So that's where y'all connect. That what did you just say? That it's you're making it up as you go along. It's a process, not a thing. And so that's what philosophy and improv shares.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, no, I know. I was looking through your book, and something that jumped out to me. You said, and it was a secondary quote, maybe even a tertiary quote of a quote of a quote. That the motor of science, the motor that moves science, isn't verification but persuasion. The motor that moves science isn't verification, but persuasion. And I think that was a very interesting thing, this whole idea that we are not necessarily moved by, and certainly talking about the past election, we're not moved by verifying or unverifying data points. We are moved by persuasion. And it's this whole notion that our gut makes a decision and our brain just justifies it. And I know I think we've all fallen into that to varying degrees, making a decision.
Well, science would have us believe that they are just presenting raw data.
Yeah.
But in fact, the data comes from experiments which are decided upon or developed because they had a hypothesis. They had something they wanted to verify. So if you want to prove that light is a wave, you run one experiment. If you want to prove light is a particle, then you choose another. So both are true. Light is both a particle and a wave, but it is an act of persuasion to choose one or the other experiments that prove that. There's a terrific book by Deidre McCloskey, a member of the Chicago School of Economics, the deeply conservative Chicago, the Milton Friedman School of Economics. And she writes a book called The Rhetoric of Economics. And she argues, I think that's the name of it, and it's in the book. And she argues that economists, on the model of 19th century scientific inquiry, want to be objective and they want to just present raw data. But in fact, all their data is shaped by their point of view, their hypotheses.
Certainly.
Milton Friedman is, neoliberal is the worst example of that. A disaster is a terrible thing to waste, he said.
Yes. Their gut has made a decision and now their brain's working to make sure it's the right one.
Right.
Working to justify it.
Well, without getting too far into the philosophy of science angle there, you asked, just to clarify my earlier comment, I'm not implying that both improv and philosophy make things up as they go along, but they do involve individual thinkers. It is not about accumulating a bunch of data, just like the naive picture of science is, we just get more and more facts, and all the sophisticated philosophy of science says something like what you were just saying, that no, it actually, there's a complex process of having a model, having a theory, a paradigm that's thrown around a bunch of people, and then the reasons for it moving to something else are, it's certainly related to discoveries, but it's just as related to sociological factors. And there could be things that go in and out of fashion over time. There could be pendulum swings. So for the individual who is engaging in a philosophical life, it is, their personal awakening, their personal wondering, their personal whatever. So in that sense, it is like improv, where, if you were just a spectator, if you just saw it as the history of comedy or something, you would be missing the point. Improv, more than anything else, invites you that you should be participating in it. It's more about the doer than about the spectator, even though it can be fun to do that.
And in many ways, you can think of the scientist as a spectator, the spectator of the truth, as they sit back and watch their experiment unfold. In fact, they don't want to be a participant. They want to be they would like to very much say that they did not participate. They're
Well,
seeking
that's
to
the
be a
will of the
spectator. Falsely, but
that's the
yes.
scientist's pursuit of the will of the wisp of objectivity. And that starts with Bacon, with Francis Bacon, who writes in not his central book, but in another of his books. He says that the scientist is just the amanuensis, the secretary of nature. He just writes down the raw data. It's so what science and improv share is this notion that this is immediate, it's unmediated, it's in the moment. And Bacon's metaphor he draws on myth, he says the scientist is just the echo to nature. And so, like echo, it's a perfect representation of nature. It's not shaped by the scientist's will or, again, his hypothesis. And I think that's BS. And I think that we're always shaping, we're always framing, and
Yeah.
there is no unmediated experience, though the improviser comes closest with his
Now,
response to prompts.
do you think
In the
Bacon's
moment.
feelings would represent the ideal of what a scientist should be and should strive for? Or should
No,
they
I think
acknowledge that it's unobtainable, or at least acknowledge that they can't completely stay away? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there are scientists who are aware of that.
Certainly, yeah.
There's Jerome Bruner, a neuroscientist, early neuroscientist at Harvard and then NYU, who writes a book called Essays for the Left Hand. And he argues that, yes, psychology is meant to get to objective truth, but we don't want to let go of the subjective quest, the way that we shape that quest. So,
yeah.
I'm detecting maybe
he's one of my heroes.
Chapter 3, Eureka, Improv, Invention, and Paradigm Shifts. Is that relevant to what we're...
Yeah, you mentioned paradigm before, and that's kind of a trigger word for me, because I think in the course of its long history, improv has been the paradigm shifter. When you want to shift, or you're participating in a paradigm shift and you want to move that paradigm along, you embrace this voice of trickster, the disruptor, who I think is the eternal voice of improv. And you, let's see. Improv is the voice of innovation, and innovation is what paradigm shifting is all about. So that's what's happening. So for example, Locke, in his what's his big book, Mark?
The one on
psychology
logic?
No, on
the inquiry concerning human understanding.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The essay on human understanding. Well, first of all, it's an essay, right? It's it's like Montaigne and like Bacon. It's a tentative quest for understanding. And my first book was largely a commentary on prefaces. The preface to the essay on human understanding says that and I'm quoting from long ago memory. He says that what I write here is the kind of thing that a man writes when he's out in the country longing for his mistress. Now that's a pretty subjective position to take or stance to take, and yet what he's doing is trying to shift our understanding of the way we know the world, through free association and the association of ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
Free association,
Apology.
of course, being the bread and butter of improv.
Certainly. Apologies to his wife. That is not
I never looked into that. If he was, of course,
did he make mistress in a more general sense?
That was pre-Victorian, so maybe mistresses were accepted.
I wonder if we could perhaps better understand this idea of the improv as the trickster, as the paradigm changer, by having a scene in which we can somehow incorporate that.
We can certainly try. Now, the improv we're going to be doing here is closer to maybe what you may see at some of the I.O. theater, the UCB theater in New York, where it's going to be less improv games, more just little imaginary scenes. And that's it. Just whoever it is that you find yourselves to be, feel free to be that person as loudly and proudly as you can. And that's it. Is that cool?
That's cool.
I love keeping things in slice of life situations, so expect that. We good?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready for life to slice.
Hey, fellas, we're just about to close up the kitchen. I don't know if you need any burgers or anything. We can get that for you before we close.
I'm pretty hungry.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, can we just have the rest? Whatever you got. Do you have like?
We still gotta put it in the computer here. It's rainy out there. The highway. It's rainy, huh? You heading somewhere?
Yeah, it's like a little kind of a cross country thing, and that's the only reason I would. Generally come into a place like this. No offense, but
that's fine. I get it.
You're going cross.
Well, the fish weren't biting, so here we are.
You bailed on the fishing trip? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
We might be eating what we caught, but yeah. So what do you have?
But you're at a roadside BK. I get it. What can I get you, fellas? What's it going to be?
Just what do you have already made? What's right there that you can just shovel, maybe at a discount? Just shovel it. Just shovel it in a bag.
It's not going to be much of a discount. Let me just. This is already at the bottom of the barrel here. Somebody ordered some onion rings about an hour ago and left before they picked them up.
Right. Yep.
Some hour-old onion rings.
Maybe. What do you think, Randy? How much would you pay?
Well,
for
as
those?
long as there's a lot of ketchup, I'll eat anything.
There you go.
You take all the ketchup you want. The ketchup's free.
No.
I'll tell you what. It's a large onion ring. I'll charge you for a small. How about that?
All right.
Sounds good.
I'm taking that seriously. I'm gonna just.
Dude, come on, make this easy for me here.
In my pockets here.
There are two. It's a veggie Whopper and two Impossible Whoppers that somebody ordered, and again didn't pick up as a grill receipt kind of thing. I'm not. One of them's got extra pickles.
As a Trumpster, I'd prefer if this were maybe there's a McDonald's nearby we could try.
Yeah, if you guys just got those pansy burgers.
Made. You said, what do we have made? I can make you if you want.
I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just saying that I hear that they're made of actual flowers, actual pansies. Those impossibles.
Look, here's what I'm saying. If you all want to order beef burgers, I'd be more than happy to make you a beef burger. But please don't think that just because all we have ready for a discount is, sorry, I don't have a ribeye on discount for you today. Which do you want? Do you want to pay full price for the beef, or do you want discount veggie Whopper? That's how the world works.
I guess you just got to go with the opportunities that are in front of you. You can't. That's what the Trump is all about. He saw that there was this opening, this power vacuum. He just zoomed right in. It's amazing. So we could do that with the burgers, with the veggie, with the pansy burgers.
Sure, fine, yeah. I'll give you all three. I'll charge you for one. I'll give you all three. How about that?
All right, all right. And the salt's free as well. You got a lot of them. You got the onion rings. You got a lot
Yeah,
of
here, I'll
fries.
just
Just
here,
like
here's
lying around at the bottom of the thing.
here's a handful of salt packets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go crazy. You guys want something to drink? I can't do it. We don't have any drinks sitting around. I'll have to charge you.
I mean, water is free, right?
All right, get you a courtesy cup. That's fine. But please
Yeah.
don't fill it up with soda.
I mean, I'm on this side of the counter. You're on that side of the counter. I
Well,
think I have
we have the
I have the
self-serve.
cup. Right,
fine. All
exactly.
right.
Exactly. So if let me just
Is
theoretically,
the ice free?
The ice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's whatever we can fit into the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Tank
I'm
it
gonna-
up.
I'm gonna get the cooler out of the camper there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was saying,
Let's
that would help with that crappie that we caught.
I mean, I thought we were going to talk about the crappie. The whole idea here is that we don't have any food, and so we need all their extra food. That's what we did
I
at
don't
the
know
Arby's.
about you, but
Yeah.
a crappie's about that big, and it's not going to fill me up.
Okay. Yeah.
Bro, are you guys punishing yourselves for not catching a fish? Is that why you're just trying to like pinch pennies here? I mean, this
No,
is going to
we're
be
just poor.
I mean,
okay.
for now that the Trumpster has thrown in, money guys like us, things are going to be coming our way very quickly. It's the
Yeah.
change. It's the out with the old, in with the new. This is
Okay.
the new that what you're experiencing right now. This is what
Uh-huh.
service is going to be like now on. This is what around the Usenet groups. That's how we communicate around the Truth Social. We communicate these life hacks, how to hack a fast food restaurant, and this is it. You're getting it.
So, what did you get 4 years ago, or 8 to 4 years ago? Did you get a check or something? You get a better job? You get why? What was
Are you
it?
saying that he's not going to deliver on his promises?
I'm just saying for
That
you, what
man's
did?
authentic. He's one of us.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
he
what
understand? He hears us. He listens.
what did you get? That's what I'm saying. I mean, what did you?
I mean, Trump helps those who help themselves in certain ways. So yeah, I mean, you gotta get out there.
Well-
You gotta hustle.
He wanted to help us, but the Democrats got in the way.
Right. So we took what we could, and the fat cats they'll always have more. So
Sure, fellas, that sounds about right. Let me just ring you up for your 2 free waters, your hour-old onion rings, large, but I'll charge you for a small, and 2 veggie Whoppers, 1 Impossible Whopper with extra pickles. That'll be
can you
six.
can you put extra pickles on that?
It's already pre-made.
Are they fried pickles?
They're just out of a bucket.
Can we
That'd
see
be $4.38.
Can we have the bucket?
Congratulations. Welcome to America 2024. $4.38 for some hour-old food.
All right. Yeah.
USA.
Yeah. Don't say thank you. We're not supposed to say thank you. Yeah, I'm taking it. Here's the bills. I only pay cash.
You said you're not supposed to say thank you?
That's what they say on the Usenet.
Don't say thank you?
Thank you is a sign of weakness.
Mm.
This is the new way. We're trying to overturn the paradigms of the whole the man that won't give you stuff, but you're the man, and you just there was still an economic
okay.
exchange involved, but it was
Okay.
it was a more
So
fair.
so
to the
you
common man.
like signs of strength then? Is that what you're saying? Great. I'll just go ahead and put this $10 bill in the register and not give you any change. How about that? How's that sign of strength for you? You like that strength? Now you want strength? Now you want to play strength, huh? Huh? Little man can't catch a fish? Is that what you want, huh?
Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the McDonald's down the street.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Huh? Huh?
You'll be sorry. Trump's gonna come
Yeah.
and flatten this place to the ground.
He makes better fries than you anyway.
You guys didn't even order fries. You didn't even order fries.
Yeah, but that's because it's not McDonald's.
And we'll stop there. We'll stop there. We'll stop there. I wanted to shift the paradigm and go strong at the end.
You did good.
I like
That's
that.
what I was going for. I was stepping up to you, Mark. I'm gonna shift the paradigm, see what happened.
So did you have was there a lesson that?
Well, that was it. That was it.
Oh, okay.
It's
That
like,
was the shift. That was.
Yeah, well, can you, and again, in an improv situation, we still have to be true to everything we've built up until then. So in my mind, I've been working a very, very long shift on the side of the interstate all day, ready to close the restaurant. It's probably midnight, maybe 11 p.m., ready to close. Here come two guys who just want old food. This is the last thing any BK manager wants to deal with. And are penny pinching and taking all the ketchup. It's like, you're driving me crazy. And then you get all political and don't say thank you. Are you pushing my buttons? Now, as an improviser, I can let those things slide, or I can choose to let them affect me. And in the spirit of paradigm shifting, I chose to let them affect me.
Well, in the spirit of paradigm shifting, Mark just asked what was the lesson. What lesson did you have in your performance? And I make the point that improv, like science, presents itself as raw, unmediated, without purpose. It's just fun and games. But in fact, it is meant to persuade. It's meant to disrupt. It's meant to say, listen, if I can do this without thinking, why do all that hard thinking, all that philosophy bullshit? And so improv is offering a argument that instinctual behavior, that impulsive behavior, that pre-associative behavior is, if not preferred, at least it needs to be incorporated into our lives. So improv is by just standing up there and responding to prompts and doing call and response and doing yes and the rule of agreement is pushing back against the mainstream, which is science-based. It's basically saying, there's the only way forward is an objective, non-persuasive quest for truth.
Very convenient for scientists.
We're always persuading. Yeah, humanity just can't stop the penchant to persuade. And so even improv, that fun and games thing that you guys do on stage, it too is trying to persuade. And I mean, look at it. Improv has conquered the world. I mean, it's conquered Hollywood. All those Christopher Guest movies just inspired the takeover of Hollywood. First the indies, and even with MCU, it started with a totally improvised Iron Man. Jeff Bridges kept complaining, "Where's the script? Where's the script?" And Robert Downey Jr. was just having a blast making it up as he went along. So improv is taking over the world, and I ask, why? And I think that it's because, first of all, we live in a world bereft of agency. We if you click on those blue jeans on Facebook, it's because the algorithm has been tracking your every click and knows that 6 days ago you looked at some blue jeans online, so it's put up some blue jeans. And so when you click on those blue jeans and purchase those blue jeans, who made the decision? Was it you, or was it the algorithm?
Yeah.
The algorithm was given one purpose. It said, it was told, increase engagement. And of course, that was to monetize the medium.
Certainly, certainly.
But it it went into the black box with its algorithm, and it was given the whole internet to scrape. And it quickly learned that the best way to increase engagement was fear and anger, rage. So it's no coincidence that the fear and anger, rageful Trump, his rise coincides with the rise of the algorithm. I mean, literally, 2011, that's when it starts, when it really gets sophisticated. And so the internet is, I argue, is one big improvisation. It's not created by the social media platforms. It's created by us. We provide the content. So nobody's in charge except the algorithm, which shapes where that content goes. What one interesting tidbit historically is that the guy behind the theoretician behind the like button and the friends button is a guy named J.L. Moreno. His son Jonathan, who's a medical ethicist at University of Pennsylvania, wrote a book about him. It's called Impromptu Man, because before he created sociometry, which is the theory behind likes and friends, before he did that, he was a psychiatrist in Vienna at the time of Freud, studied with Freud a little, and he created, because he didn't want to just talk, he wanted action, and so he created a thing called the theater of spontaneity in Vienna in like the teens, 19 teens, and then he took that to New York City in the 20s and created a theater of spontaneity. Became friends with Viola Spolin, helped her invent the games that she said is the real heart of improv. And he thought that spontaneity and improvisation were going to cure the anomie that the industrial complex was visiting upon us. So it's a horrible irony that his sociometry increased anomie out the wazoo when it became the how Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all those create your world where you hear just what you expect to hear, where you in fact get an echo, like Bacon in his science. You get an echo of your own voice, but it increases. So your fear and anger keeps increasing because you're looking for those dopamine hits. I wrote this chapter on the horrors of social media, and did a deep dive. There's a great book by Max something, The Chaos Machine, about how social media got its rise. And as it got darker and my understanding got darker and darker, I decided I need to get off Facebook. So I weaned myself off Facebook. And but then I published my book. And there's no publishing a book these days without social media. So to keep myself, as virginal as I could, I hired a social media person who's terrific and done a great job. Kristen Sanders, I recommend her highly. But, I'm still the receiver of those likes. I'm the one who's wondering if my content is getting hits. And so I was overnight re-addicted to Facebook when we started the social media program. There's just no avoiding it. It's the addiction. It's just so powerful. Those dopamine hits, man, there's nothing like them.
So
Well,
it's
you also got
Max
to
Fisher. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Max Fisher, thanks.
you got to wonder sometimes how many likes and friend requests are simply someone hoping you will like or friend request them back. And then suddenly you get this like, oh, wait a minute. Is this all just a giant pat on the back to not that there's children listening, maybe another word might be better, but are we all just in a circular pat on the back, circular back rub, making sure you gotta make sure you rub someone's back, because someone might rub your back. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
That's how it works.
Does anyone actually like my book? Does anyone actually like what I wrote? Or do they like that I am doing it? Or is it just this?
Oh, no,
this is how the system.
Book. They all love my book. Don't
read every word.
Dissuaded.
No, yeah.
It's all real when it comes to likes on my book.
Let me back
That's
up
part
to
of the
earlier in your speech there. I was just to free associate philosophically here. I'm reminded of this this transition between Hegel to Kierkegaard, right? So Hegel, the whole idea that history has a logic. We're getting toward. In fact, Frank Fukuyama then wrote this book called The End of History that seemed to say that, oh yeah, once we got to the 90s, the economy's getting better, everybody thinks more rational, and if Clinton had just won,
no commies to worry about.
If Hillary had just won that next election, we would have just continued going in that direction. But there was a strong sense, including Slavoj Žižek, one of our most famous philosophers now, was sort of like the like-mindedness about foreign policy, about everything. The machine, like, I'd like to throw a wrench into the machine. Not that he would have picked Trump exactly, but he sort of was thrown into some disgrace by saying, if I was an American, maybe I would vote for Trump. And that's what we got. So likewise, Kierkegaard saw this big, the Prussian state, and this is the most rational state, and this kind of Christianity is the most rational kind of Christianity, and said, no, you got to be an individual, you got to break away, you got to listen to your higher, you got to improvise. And he was very into irony and other devices of humor, and so likewise, so that makes it sound like the disruptor is good, but you are putting it in terms of the disruptor has emerged. It certainly does not seem, what your description of social media as the disruptor does not sound like Kierkegaard's, listen to your own most individual heart. Like, that's what we hope that when we do improv, that's what we're doing. We're not somehow, it's not merely coincidence, unplanned coincidence. That's what we're talking about when you say social media algorithms were created to make money off of people. They were not created with a large, despite some people's suspicions of the tech companies, they were not actually created because someone had a master plan about creating a dystopia or something. No, it is low level, individual. I want your money from this click. And that just adds up, as you've said, to this outrage machine to create this whole. So that doesn't seem like improv at all. It just seems like unintended consequences.
Well, so what I'm arguing, you're right to point to this contradiction, but to me, it's a expressive contradiction, because what I argue is that Jung said that everything solid has a shadow. And improv is very solid. It's ingrained in us in evolutionary ways. We have a hot cognition, we have a cold cognition. The hot cognition is how we stay out of danger, and the cold cognition is how we just kind of drift automatically through life, basing our decisions on perceptions drawn from the past, not in the present moment. So if everything solid has shadow, then the shadow side of the improv that we know and love, that I've spent my whole career celebrating in A Taste for Chaos and in much of this book, Winging It, I celebrate that. I love that. But there's a dark side, and it's the flip side. The flip side of that coin is Trump, and it is the algorithm of social media. Improvisers have always seen this dark side. Coleridge in Kubla Khan, after celebrating inspiration, the automatic, the fountains in the cave of ice, he at the end of the poem, he switches gears and he's referencing the bard who's inspired, the inspired bard. He says, "Weave a circle round him thrice, for he on honeydew hath fed and drunk the milk of paradise." In Milton's Paradise Lost, Eve is inspired by the snake infuses inspiration into her ear. So improv has a dark side. I did this a couple years of, I was meant to be annual, and then COVID came, but I did improv conference, and in 2019, 3 years into his presidency, I put together a panel on the dark side of improv, politics. And I sent out an email blast, and I immediately got a reply from a very distinguished jazz historian at Rutgers. And he said, "Why give improv a bad name? It's not BS." And all I could think was, my God, it's 2019. BS is flowing through the front doors of the White House. How can he miss it? Well, he has a stake in just the celebration of improv, and there's much to celebrate. But the reason I wrote about improv's power and peril is because, that gesture, that trope, "I've done this without thinking, so trust me," which baldly stated is ridiculous, nevertheless has great power, and it's been in use since antiquity. When I saw Trump come down the golden escalator, I thought, man, I knew there was a dark side, but I didn't know how dark it could get. Hearing about American carnage when, violence was down and murders were down. But nonetheless, he had an audience, and he felt they heard him, and he got elected. So that's the power of the gesture.
What was it, Mark?
My gut knows more than many brains, he said. So I don't read NATO white papers.
Yes.
Ready to throw NATO under the bus.
Right. This is what people were looking for, when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. They're like, I just want somebody who can talk like a person, which I don't know if that's the way I would describe what he does, but the fact that it is not, that it is irresponsible, that it is bullshitty, that bullshit is not lying according to some definite plan. It is, I don't actually even care if what I say is true or not. The Harry Frankfurt definition of bullshit. That yes, it's very easy if you're not sort of analyzing how is what I'm about to say going to affect all the various audiences. I'm in a very strange position as an orator. I'm not just talking to one person. I'm talking to everybody. So to decide not to care about that and just to
which is the flip side of the compass rose for the Democrats, which is, to not offend, to be woke. And I'm all for being aware of other people, but there was this feeling listening to Kamala, and I was a huge supporter of Kamala, and I wrote very positively about her candidacy. But there was this feeling about it that, she was a puppet. There were people who were telling her what to say and what not to say. She was careful, and the essence of Trump was carelessness. The essence of improv is carelessness, and so That's how they heard her, that she was just somebody's puppet. She was, you know, the DNC's puppet, and or all the advisors who are uh, woke to this or that group that needed not to be offended. And you know, I think we've got a real problem with identity politics, that we who care about um, DEI and whatnot, we have to believe that if we retain our freedoms, then all boats will rise on that tide. That we don't have to focus on the identities, but the identities will prosper if we focus on freedom and democracy.
Yeah, we're still in middle school.
That was
We're
another
still in
big
middle.
speech. Sorry.
We never left middle school. And think about it. Think back to where you were and say, yeah, how would I get 50% of my fellow seventh graders to vote for a certain thing? And sure, there may be a handful that you can logic something. This is why we should watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off for our movie at the end of the year. But how do you reach all those people? You know, and there's going to be many, many people.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's
Well, if you know the superpower of improvisers is good listening. They
Sure.
have to pay total attention to their partners on stage. And Trump is not a good listener. You know, if we
No.
were in a room with him, he wouldn't listen to us.
At all.
He doesn't listen to the grown-ups in the room, but he did listen to his base. He has this way of listening to his base because he's a narcissist and he wants feedback, and he gets lots of feedback by being goofy, a trickster. And there's an example of his listening in the bridge. The wall, the Mexican wall. His handlers had told him to bring up the problem of immigrations, all these immigrants, and he reified it. He turned it into a thing. He didn't talk about immigrants in the abstract. He said, "We're going to build a wall." And the explosive response made sure or ensured that that became the central plank in his platform. And then in his presidency, even though nothing came of it. You know, that was one problem with Kamala, that there was so much BS that they could have pointed to. That they, you know, just, I don't know, maybe they decided that his supporters couldn't see through all, you know, the promises that were not fulfilled, and the wall, and
Grocery prices. The damn
and
groceries are too
COVID.
expensive. Groceries are too expensive.
Yeah. So everything's going to get better because he's going to have tariffs.
I'm not thinking that far. Stop. I don't think that far.
Right. We're in the moment.
We're in the moment.
improvisers.
I can't
We're
think
in the
that
moment.
far. What did Socrates say about the people in the marketplace, Mark? Wasn't there something? People can't see past their own nose, or
He
had contempt.
he went in through the marketplace. He knocked down all their tables. Well, that's Jesus.
That was Jesus. That was somebody.
A similar thing. Very disruptive. He was very, you know.
Yes.
He was improvising.
Yes. Jesus was quite disruptive. Social revolutionary. We got time for one more scene if we should press on here.
I think we need one more scene, and I've been thinking about, I don't know if this is how to make this into a premise, but so much of the improvisation that we might hear from Trump or from Trump supporters, what counts as authenticity, is because they have very shallow well from which to draw. And so if you're trying to teach improv to dogs, for instance, so there's your starter thing. The Improvs for Dogs class. Everybody has their dogs.
Okay, everybody. I hope you're all excited. We're going to do some improv with our dogs. Everybody loves improv. Everybody loves dogs, or you wouldn't be here, right? Fantastic.
Sit. Don't.
So let's just go around the room. Maybe say our name, say the name of our dog, and what we're hoping to get out of this class. Who we got here?
Well, I'm hoping that my dog will perform without my telling him. So he has agency. I want him to feel Like I don't have a leash around his neck, and I just want him to embrace his
Uh-huh.
agency.
Okay. Do you think is that something dogs are capable of doing? Or are we? Well, that's great. You know
Well,
what? That's great.
And I noticed you didn't tell us his name. Does that mean that you purposely didn't give him a name so that he would sort of he wouldn't be pigeonholed in that way? He would come up with his own
I
identity.
think he's named himself Wolf.
Okay.
He's named
Okay.
himself Wolf.
All right.
Mhm.
Well,
Okay.
Snoodles and I are so excited to be here. We've been doing little scenes for years together. We do like get up in front of the family, and I'm like, "Hey, Snoodles, speak!" And then Snoodles sometimes doesn't speak, sometimes does speak. It's you never know what Snoodles is going to do. So I thought he'd be really really good at this. I'm really looking forward to this class.
Well, it seems like you're having a lot of fun.
Maybe you should get one of those parrots like they have on Instagram that can tell you whether it's a bell or made out of wood. Maybe this. Whoa.
That's
Maybe this would be a better class for parrots.
We'll see. It's the park district that sponsors me, and
Mhm,
I can look into it, but I'm not typically a parent. What I really want to do is get ourselves and our dogs doing some things. Is that okay?
Let's do it. Let's
Awesome.
do
Well,
it.
the first thing I want to
Show
do
us how it's done.
the first thing I want to do is we need to perceive the world the way our dog does. If our dog is going to be creating things in the moment spontaneously, how do they see the world? How do they see the world? You know? And this is Champ. This is my buddy here, Champ Golden Retriever here. And we're gonna go around the room here. We're all gonna say one thing that we think our dog thinks. All right, one thing we've seen them do, we've seen a thought cross their mind, and I'm gonna go first. Champ, I've seen Champ think, boy, I sure do love running after a stick in the park. That is something I know
Whoa.
Champ has thought. I sure do love chasing a stick in the park. Oh, anybody else? Anybody else can read their dog's mind?
I mean, do you feel
I'm
like
pretty sure I know when Wolf is hungry.
Okay, there we go. We know when Wolf is hungry. There's a behavior. There's a behavior in there. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
I guess I'm just inspired by this new ethic about Wolf that Randy's been telling us about. That I'm feeling like maybe I shouldn't impose meaning on Snoodles. That I should like let Snoodles' mind be Snoodles' own mind and not try to kind of pry in there.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I can see that, but you certainly agree there are times when you and your dog are on the same page and probably thinking the same thing, right?
Well, I mean, we have so much fun together when we're out, when we're doing one of our scenes. I can just see sometimes when his mouth is open, it looks like he's smiling.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there is a level of communication with our dog. We may not really, they can't speak English and they can't think thoughts in the way we think thoughts. We can still communicate. We still communicate with our animal. There's something going between us. I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right? Now, I asked everyone to bring
Mine
in.
speaks English. Mine speaks English. We were out in the woods,
Uh-huh.
and there was this wolf, and Wolf said wolf.
Okay. Um,
That's a start.
that is. Hey, one down, several 100,000 to go. We got a lot of words left, and
Well, he doesn't
we-
need to be Shakespeare.
I mean, I'm beginning to now to wonder because clearly that is a misinterpretation of reading meaning, and now I'm wondering is Snoodles really even smiling just because he looks like he's smiling? Maybe that's just the way his mouth is shaped.
That's also a possibility. But what I think I asked everyone here to bring what you feel is your dog's favorite toy or item from home. I happen to have an old slipper. This was actually my father's old slipper that Champ here found on a trip, and now he just drags that thing all around the house with him. And as you can see, when I bring out the slipper and hold it in front of that, because he's interested. We're seeing he's interested, right? He sees it. He's aware. He's having a reaction in the moment to what's going on, and it's a happy reaction, right? So maybe if do you see what I'm going for here? This idea of stimulus and reaction, right? This is all part of the improvisational process, right? Being aware to what's going on around us, right? Did you all bring things for your pets here, for Wolf and Yeah, what do we have here?
I brought this fishing pole that I used to catch crappie on. Um,
Okay.
it's broken, and I use it as a stick in when we go to the park.
Okay, and Wolf likes it. And let's see as we bring it out. Let's
Mm.
see Wolf's reaction. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, he's digging it.
He's happy smelling it, right? He's digging.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe we're going to the
he's
park. This is a good thing.
he's like fainting, like he's about to run and catch it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Now, if you take it away, if you hide it behind your back,
It's doesn't exist.
where'd it go? Where'd it go? I thought, did I just think we were, and now we're not? What's going on here? I don't think that's mean. Is that mean? I don't think it's too mean.
Well, he's
Mark-
happy when you bring it back.
Well, there you go.
I mean,
There you go.
you think he's
There
happy
are.
when you bring it back. Now I'm doubting. I brought this picture of Judd Apatow that we've like to express our joy of improv together, but now I'm feeling like maybe I was misreading him, and he actually doesn't recognize that it's that a two-dimensional picture is a three-dimensional person, and that this is the one who's responsible for some of the greatest improv in media today. That maybe that was just me.
Oh, you show your dog. You show what's his name? Snoodles.
Yeah,
You show
yeah,
him a
we've
picture of
watched.
Judd Apatow.
Yeah, I mean we
Uh,
watched Knocked Up several times.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, what do you think it is about Judd Apatow that Snoodles enjoys?
I mean, I don't think that maybe he enjoys it at all. I think it maybe just because he likes sitting with me on the couch and that I give him a lot of treats and that he's really not into improv at all. And I've just been fooling myself this whole time. So I guess I had to come to a class to have that awakening.
Okay, well,
Thanks.
right. Okay, well, let's this is all about fun, and certainly we may learn things about
Well,
ourselves, and let's.
So what you're approaching is that state of mind that Socrates had, that he was the wisest of men because he knew that he knew nothing.
I'm the saddest of men because I know that my relationship based on the love of improv with my pet has been a lie this whole time. And so at least I know that, and you guys just don't even know that. So yeah, all right.
Mm,
I'm
mm.
I'm just gonna.
Well, perhaps we can move forward closer to the truth. Huh? Huh? This has been a rough class for me, y'all. This has been some heavy stuff. Usually, this is just all laughs and things and whatnot, and I
Yeah.
appreciate the kind of heaviness here. But this is good. This is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But we just do have another half hour left. Are you okay, Mark? Are you ready to push forward?
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to take a walk around the block, take Stoodles.
I think I just need some treats. And
Treats.
Snoodles can have some treats, and I'm gonna have some treats, and Snoodles can have some treats. Pretty much everything's fine then. Okay, we're back on board.
A few treats and you're good to go?
I mean, it worked for Scooby, so that's how I, TV based dog rearing.
Simple man, Mark. A simple man. I appreciate that. I think that's great. Well, the thing we're going to do here, spend a lot of time doing here, is we're going to walk around the room with our dogs, and as they investigate things, I want you to name what you think that they're investigating. What is it that they're smelling? And try to be specific. Not just say the wall, there's the particular tile or the kickboard under the thing. Try to be very specific with this. Does that make sense? And your dog will point at the things it finds interesting, and we're going to acknowledge that we find them interesting too. You see that? You see that?
Mhm.
You okay, Mark? Is this gonna be all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's Woof? Yeah, what? Tell me
Okay,
what's going
Wolf.
on
Does
there.
Wolf want to go around the room here?
Wolf is really into that lady's leg.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
actually. I think we may want to. You may want to pull Wolf back here. I think.
Mhm.
Are you okay, ma'am? Ma'am, do you? Okay. Can we restrain Wolf, please? Can we
Yep,
please?
Yep. Sorry.
Okay, that was a lot of agency.
But I don't like to use a leash, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah. Well, it was. I
Yeah,
think our
he was.
other
He
our
was.
guest here has agency as well, and they're allowed to not have a dog enjoy their leg.
Well, I know Snoodle seems really interested in your dog's butthole, but I that's not it's not for the reasons you think. I think that he sees he's concerned with the contrast between the inner person and the outer person, and the butthole is one of those ways that you can kind of, by the sense, by the it's one of the permeable membranes that you get to really see,
The soul.
somebody. There's yes. So I think it's a spiritual thing.
Mm.
No one has ever said that. No one has ever said that in class, Mark. That's a very fascinating
Snoodles is a
insight.
very special dog.
It's an improv.
It is an improv. Yes.
Something never seen before.
And hopefully never
Something
again.
unforeseen.
Yeah, we'll stop there. We'll stop
All right.
there. The butthole's the window to the soul. You know what? I mean, talking about we started this thing about finding some truth by being flippant, but in some ways it is, we can learn more people from the garbage than from their words. We can say all kinds of high-minded things and promise we're going to build walls and promise all kind of things, but then look at what we leave behind us. Look at the trail of doo-doo we smear across the floor as we go along, and that's probably a closer image of our soul, closer reflection of our soul than what we said.
There was some journalist.
How's that, Mark? I just improvised that.
There was some journalist assigned to comb through Bob Dylan's garbage. I forget what he found.
A lot of yogurt cups. Huh? Yeah, just mundane things.
Yes, well, yes. I guess in terms of the unplanned, the results of the disruption, what we're looking at now, yes, counting the society laid waste to the flotsam, that will be our legacy. That will it's not the grand plan of history dawning towards one thing. It's a chaos, and it's a
yeah.
At least that's how we're feeling these days. Maybe give us another 4 years, maybe things will look different.
Hopefully 2. We can get things, at least some hands on things in 2, and then we'll worry about 4 and 4.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that I had not, even though Trump is in the title of the book, I guess I didn't know this would be quite the seance after the election episode, but I guess this is inevitable that this would happen around this time.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Randy, for sharing your insight and your playtime with us.
Fantastic having you, and best of luck with your book.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Did you have I haven't asked this for a while. I was thinking maybe we weren't going to do this as part of the show anymore, but typically we try to determine, we got the philosophy element, we got the improv element. Which one of those do you feel like in this conversation will produce the greatest effect on your life and on the world?
I think there was a balance. I threw a lot of philosophy in there. You met it halfway, but it was philosophizing about improv. So
I'll take the time, Mark, if you'll take the time.
That sounds, yep. So I think we should continue not asking guests this question. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
I know you want to quit, but and you can cut this out, but I didn't know y'all were going to do these improvs. And when you brought it up, what came to mind, since we'd been talking about Socrates and whatnot, what came to mind was a paper I wrote in sophomore year in a political theory course, and we'd been reading The Republic. And in high school, I had succumbed to the Ayn Rand cult.
Sure.
And
it happens.
But I had moved out of it, and reading The Republic, I had a really creative teacher, and you could do anything. And so I wrote a little play. It's about 5 pages long, and in it, Ayn Rand has developed a time machine, and she decides that she will go back and talk to Aristotle, because she says in some preface that the most important philosophical concept is the idea of identity, Aristotle's idea that A is always A. And so she goes back to celebrate Aristotle, and he says, "Yeah, well, thanks, but there's a guy we since you have this time machine, we could go see, and I don't think he agrees with me. His name is Heraclitus." And so they go back to Heraclitus, and he says, "Well, no, A is an A. A is always becoming A." And Ayn Rand explodes or something. So that's my little, that was, it was an improv. I did it in
Sure.
30 minutes, and it was just wildly, she just loved it. I remember her comment. It was a line from Pound's Personae. I have
Wait, you sent this to Ayn Rand? Is that what you're saying?
no.
Oh, the teacher.
Yeah,
the
she
teacher.
went poof.
Okay, all right, all
And
right.
she went poof. Her name was Ruth. I can't remember her
Okay,
last
all
name.
right.
But her comment was, "I've many a new thing understood that was rank folly. I have oft wandered in the wood, and many a new thing understood that was rank folly to my mind before," something like that. And it was like she got it, that this was my saying goodbye to Miss Rand. So that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good ending for us. Thank you so much
Yeah.
again.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great rest of your day. Bye-bye, everybody.
You too.
Bye.
I should sell my soul. Bankrupt. Bankrupt.